Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. All glory, all praise, and all thanks belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. I continue with the series of my talk, which is on motivation in parental care. That is, prompting the parents to undertake a parental care which is proper and right in bringing up children. I base my talk on the book that I wrote, namely Simple Child Psychology, guiding parents how to apply child psychology in bringing up children. In my last talk, I pointed out three mental disorders, three emotional disorders, which we all are subject to. And they were inferiority complex, another one was trauma, and the third one is depression. These three emotional disorders we commonly are subject to, and children too. Now, last time I discussed one of them. I discussed the inferiority complex in children, and for that purpose, I discussed what was in my book, which was in chapter 6 of the book. The link for the download of the book was given. Now, when we talk about these emotional disorders, we as adults do know that these things are common. And because we know they are common, we know that they are manageable. But when it happens to the children, they don't even know what is happening to them, why, and what to complain and to whom to complain. As a result, when they can't explain, they miss parental sympathy and parental attention. So it becomes even worse for the children as compared to the adults. Today, I will discuss childhood trauma. Now, what is trauma? Trauma is emotional shock as a result of a situation that happens to somebody who least imagined that it would happen. And yet, he does know that these situations do occur and happen to others. But in the case of children, when they have this emotional shock, their mind becomes numbed and they find no resort to any relief in this shock. As we know, shock can kill. We may have read incidents or events where somebody dies in a motor accident, and then later it is proven that he died not of injuries, but he died of shock. Now that we are talking about childhood trauma, let us consider, as parents with foresight, what is it that is very common in life? What is it which is very common in families and which, if it happens, can cause trauma to a child? Very simple. It always requires exercise of foresight. The most common possibility for the child to be affected by trauma is death in a family. A death in a family, because a child, when there is death in a family, the child is very close to witnessing all that is happening around the death. But the unfortunate thing, the child never knew before what death was and how common it was. Especially if death is of a parent, worse if it is a death of a surviving widow mother. Let us assume that in this case it is death of father. Now, what the child could be of 2 years, or it could be even more than 2 years, but still it is called a tender age. It is called an impressionable age. What he finds and cannot comprehend why it could be a sudden death, to see his father deep in sleep and is covered from head to toe in a sheet of white cloth while not wanting even to wake him up, and nobody is around to guide him because everybody is caught in grief. Everybody is engaged in grief. And then he's surprised to find that there is a hurry to take his father away from home. And the next time when he sees his father again, it is in the graveyard. And what he finds? That he is buried while still asleep, and then all depart as if nothing happened to his father. Now, this is a trauma. This is a worse trauma, to find a father whom he was worshipping, hero worshipping, suddenly not at home, absent. And nobody would even imagine that here is a child who is also a bunch of flesh and flesh and feelings, no different from any other adult. He's a human, a bunch of soft flesh and sensitive feelings, but kept ignored. Now, what happens is, while he keeps on suffering from the trauma and the condition continues to take its toll on him, he stays longer at home before resuming his studies. And when he does go to school, his concentration is minimal. What should the parents have done? Now, that is the question. Knowing that such a situation is common, and it happens almost regularly in families. The way to prepare a child is very simple. What is required is coming out from the comfort zone of ignorance. Though we know ignorance is a bliss, but for the sake of children whom we love, for a matter such as this one, which is so distressing and disturbing, a child should be prepared in advance for such an eventuality. A child is taken to a family where there has been death occurred, so that he knows that there is such a thing as death. Then he is taken and sees that there is a burial. That's simple. But what a relief will be to the child, because these emotional disorders leave scars in the mind. And then, having prepared the child like I said should be prepared, then he can be explained what death is, the reality of this life. At the grave, he is shown graves, so that he becomes familiar with the type of thing that would be no longer strange to him. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.